Well, hi, this is Pete, and today I have Nick James on the line. Now, Nick is a copywriting expert, and I've learned an awful lot of stuff about copy from Nick. If you want to check him out on his website, it's nickjamescopy.com. But today he's going to share some tips on how to make your emails effective, and not just marketing emails in the traditional sense, but emails that you send out with important messages that you want your customers to read. So in a way, if you're listening to this interview now, you will have opened an email that has invited you to watch this or listen to this, and therefore you'll realize just how important it is to get those emails open so that you can get your message across. So without further ado, let me introduce Nick. Are you there?
I am, yeah. Hi, Pete.
Hi. Well, I know we spoke before about some of the tips that we can share with people. So do you just want to try and keep it reasonably succinct? We've got about 10 minutes and give people some interesting tips, useful tips.
Yeah, of course, no problem. So when it comes to email and writing emails that people are going to get, that your customers, that your prospects, there's three things that you want them to do when you send them an email. They're obvious, but still, it's worth mentioning. So the first thing you want people to do when you send them an email is open it, obviously. The second thing is, when they've opened it, you want them to actually read the content inside the email. And then the third thing is you want them probably to take some form of action when they read the email. So that might be to click a link to go to a web page. It might be to hit reply and send something back to you. It might be to call you up, whatever it is. But essentially, those are the three things that we're going to focus here on today. First of all, how to get them to open the email. Second of all, how to get them to read it. And the third thing is how to get them to take some form of action. So let's look at opening first of all. There's a few things that are important when it comes to getting people to open email or getting the open rates that you have to your customer base as high as possible. And they're often not the things you would think. So one of the things that people don't really consider when it comes to getting good open rates is how regularly they actually email their clients and subscribers. And what I've found, and all I'm going to share with you today is what I've personally found from my testing. What I found is that if you email very rarely, like only once a month or once every couple of months, then your open rates aren't going to be very good because you're not front and centre, present in their mind. So they're not it's very difficult for somebody to become a fan of you and of your business if you don't give them regular communications and regular reminders that you exist. Right. So regular communication is crucial. However, you don't want to go too far the other way and bombard them with emails all the time, because again, that will have a negative impact on open rate as well. So the regularity, or how often you email your clients and subscribers, is probably one of the most important factors when it comes to having good high open rates. The other thing that's really important when it comes to getting open rates is what you send. So in the same way that you don't want to send people lots of emails all the time, you also wouldn't want to send them lots of emails all the time selling them stuff, because you know the good old phrase, most people hate being sold to, but they love to buy. So, if you're selling stuff by email all the time, then it becomes a little bit boring and monotonous and repetitive. So what you want to do is combine, and I'm not saying don't sell on email, because obviously, ultimately, you've got to get people to buy stuff in order to have a business, but don't just do sales. So if you can combine sales messaging with some interesting value-add content-based email, then that will really help. So, for example, the interview that we're doing here, Pete, you can send out to your clients and subscribers, and it'll be a value-add for them. It's not a sales message necessarily. It's just here's some valuable content that will help you. It's really important to have a good balance. And I always say, if you can have, 2/3 value, 1/3 sale, in terms of, if you sent, let's say, 3 emails a week, 2 of them were value, 1 of them was a sales email, that would be a pretty good kind of ratio to go for. The first thing,
and on the frequency, before we move on off of that, you say once a month is probably a little bit low in terms of frequency. How often do you think people should be emailing?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, and there isn't really an answer. It varies massively depending on what industry you're in and what kind of relationship you've got with your clients and subscribers. Obviously, if you're very well connected to them, you can get away with mailing more regularly. If you're starting kind of a bit cold with a list of people you haven't contacted for a while, then I'd start gradually and increase the frequency. So I've found the sweet spot for me personally is around 2 to 3 times a week.
Wow.
And bearing in mind that 2 of the 3 that I would send would normally be valuable content or inviting them to come to a teleconference or something like that. So it's not selling them something. And then, occasionally I'll send them something that says, hey, we've got this special offer on this product, why don't you go and buy it? It's less about the frequency and more about what it is you send. Those are a couple of things I think that are important. Those are the less obvious things that people don't think about when it comes to getting good open rates. The most obvious one that will impact your open rate is what you put in the subject line of the email. Because clearly, if the subject line is boring or doesn't get their attention or a bit spammy, then chances are they're not going to, if it goes into their spam box, then chances are they're not even going to see it. And if it's a bit boring or not interesting, then if it does go in their inbox, they're probably not going to open it anyway. So the subject line is very, very important. So let's talk about what kind of subject lines you could use. I'll tell you how I write subject lines. The first thing I do is actually write the body of the email. And my attitude with writing emails, as well as any communication that you might have with your clients and subscribers, is I try and write to them in a personal way, like almost as if I was writing the message to my best friend. So, if you think about it, like when you send an email to your best friend, you don't think too much about how it's constructed or what the subject line is to get them to open it, because it's your best friend. You know that they're going to open it anyway, right? So I kind of have the attitude that is, if you write in that personal way that you would write to a friend, then the chances of them opening the email are much higher. So I write the email first with the messaging that I want to get across, whether it's, hey, here's some free stuff for you, a video, or hey, here's the product that we've got that's available at a discount. I'll write the email, and then I'll just look at the email very briefly, and I'll go, hey, if I was sending this to my best friend, what would I put in the subject line?
Right.
So I don't overthink
do it the other way around, really.
Yeah, I don't overthink it. Yeah. I don't spend hours going, what's a clever subject line that can get them to open, like a lot of people would do. I literally just go, hey, if I was sending it to my best mate, what would I put in the subject line? And normally it would be something that's very, it'd be something in the subject line that reflects the content of the email. Because again, one of the surefire ways to annoy your clients and subscribers is to use clever subject lines to get them to open that have no relevance to the actual content of the email. So I always try to just go, like for example, if I was hosting a teleconference tonight at 7 o'clock, the subject line would probably be tonight, 7 o'clock. It's pretty simple standard stuff. You don't have to be a genius to do this. Yeah. But I think what's happened is...
The classic sort of free sex now got your attention, in which case you just delete it anyway.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So yeah. I think, a lot of times, I think because we get bombarded with so much marketing stuff by email in particular, I think because of that we try and often be a bit too clever, where actually just going back to basics and just going with nice, genuine personal approaches when it comes to email marketing is the way forward, I believe, and in my experience that's worked really well.
Are there any words that you mentioned spam earlier on, which I know is an increasing problem? Are there any words that we should avoid putting either in the subject or in the body of the message to, decrease the chances it's going to go into spam? Yeah, definitely. I mean, there are loads, so we couldn't list them all now. But the most obvious ones would be anything with the word free in it, in the subject line, will definitely go into spam. Any references to things like making money or business opportunity, that kind of thing, tends to get flagged as spam as well. So, I mean, if you've got good email software, then it will normally provide a spam score. When you create the email, you can actually get a spam score. So it will tell you how likely or not likely it is that your email will go into a junk folder. Which, if you've got good email software, it kind of makes your life a lot easier. But yeah, I mean, the obvious ones are anything. I mean, you don't need to be a genius to work it out. Anything that's that
you know what kind of emails you get in your spam. You know, sending you links to buy all sorts of dodgy things. Anything like that. Anything like that's going to go into spam. So anything with words that might be construed to be that might go into spam, or anything that's perceived to be a money-making scheme or anything like that. So you've got to kind of use your head a little bit and go, right, how can I put this across in a way that won't feel spammy or salesy? And, in the main, you should be sending your list or your clients and subscribers good, high-quality information, so it shouldn't be a problem if you're doing it well.
Okay. That's great. I know I've been making loads of notes here.
Good. So that's the kind of how to get the emails opened, and I'm already aware that we're running out of time. So there's a couple of final points, which is then of course you want to make sure that your emails get read. Now, if they're opened, people assume that means they're getting read, and it's not, because just because they've opened it doesn't mean they're actually going to read the content. So one of the things that I always suggest, both with the writing of the subject line and with the writing of the email, is that you want to mix up the approach that you use all the time. So, it's not about having one format for your communication. If you were to subscribe to my list, you would find that you get sometimes very short emails from me, just a couple of lines, with maybe a link to go and watch a video or something. Sometimes you might get a really long email with lots of really, like almost like an article. Other times you might just get, something that's more like a personal story from me about an experience I've had recently, and then a bit of a marketing lesson in it. So I always try and mix up. Sometimes I'll send promotions for something that I'm doing, like a teleconference. Sometimes it will be a direct email about a workshop that I'm running. So you always want to mix it up. I guess what I'm saying is, if you send the same kind of message to the same group of people time and time again, they're going to get bored. So in terms of getting people to read the emails regularly, when they open it, they want to see something different every time. And, a lot of people use images in their emails, which helps with that a lot. I personally tend to not use images in my emails, just because that's another thing that can contribute to your email going into the spam folder. So you just got to be a little bit careful. But ultimately, if you have the attitude that you want to keep your clients and subscribers, from an email perspective, on their toes, treat them to different messages about different things that are useful to them, that they can use in the context of the product or service that you provide. And
don't be boring, really, is the key, isn't it? Just don't be dull. Make them look out, for them. Yeah. That's
probably good all-round advice on life. Don't be dull, don't be boring. And definitely applicable to email marketing as well. And then the final thing, really, I guess, to kind of wrap this quick call up, is about getting people to act on the message in the email in the last instance. So, let's say, for argument's sake, somebody's opened your email, they're reading it, it's interesting, and you want them to do something. Maybe you want them to click a link and go and watch a video. Maybe you want them to click a link, go and register for a teleconference, or go to another website, or maybe you want them to reply to you, or something like that. The mistake I see a lot of people make is they only have one call to action, as we call it. Like, there's only one thing for them to do. So it'll be there'll be a long email with lots of good stuff, and then it'll be, hey, click here to go and find out more, which is fine. But what I found to be the best way is to have multiple calls to action. So if you want somebody to click a link and go and watch a video, put throughout the email body 2, 3, or more links to that video. Because, some people will read the first couple of lines and go, wow, that sounds great, and they're ready, but then you haven't given them the opportunity to click. Some people want all the detail and all the information before they decide to click and go to another web page. So what I found, as a general rule of thumb, putting 3 links throughout the email, all sending people to the same thing, works really well. And again, if you're wanting somebody to reply to you for whatever reason, if nothing else, even if you don't repeat the call to action a number of times, at least have it stand out visually. So, if, for example, I'm sending something out that says, hey, I'd like to give you this, video or something for free, just reply to this email to get it, I'll make sure the bit that says, reply to this email to get it, is bold and underlined, and that they can see that's the thing that they need to do next. So just make sure that either through making it visually obvious, or by repeating the call to action a number of times, or both, that you make it very, very clear and straightforward what it is you want them to do next.
Okay, perfect. So don't waffle, be really clear and repeat yourself. It's okay to repeat the same thing.
When it comes to the call to action, yes, it's definitely okay to repeat yourself.
Yeah, brilliant. Wow, that's a lot of information, isn't it?
Well, it wasn't 10 minutes. We went a bit over, but it was, I think
well,
it was
you know what,
not
Nick,
too bad.
I make no apologies for us overrunning. I think this, we could sit here and chat for a lot longer and we'd still be coming out with loads of good stuff. So no apologies needed. I think this has been great value. And
Good.
I just want to repeat, being as you say that it's okay to repeat, where people can get more information from if they want to take this further. Would you like to just let people know where to go?
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, you can find loads of free resources on nickjamescopy.com. So there's some free videos there about various different things that you can do to have better sales and marketing processes in your business. There's some free videos there. Also, on that page, you can register and join my marketing list so that you can get more access to webinars and teleconferences and whatever else I'm doing. So, yeah, get yourself over to nickjamescopy.com, and if you'd like to have a chat, then drop us a line.
I guess people could sign up for your newsletter and then copy some of your techniques, couldn't they? But maybe we shouldn't say
exactly,
that.
Yeah, and that's okay. I'm completely okay with that. It's fine.
Brilliant. Nick, thanks very much for spending a few moments with us and discussing this.
You're welcome.
And I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks ever so much for your time.
That's great. Thanks for having me.